Hot seat. Are Penn State's James Franklin, USC's Lincoln Riley, and Purdue's Ryan Walters in trouble? How hot are these seats? Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com and get started. So, Big Ten hot seats, plus injury update news on Tez Johnson. Got a little something for you there. Plus, the Penn State whiteout. Penn State fans, you're not going to be happy about where you find that game on TV, plus Tuesday tweets. But things are getting ugly in Happy Valley, speaking of Penn State. So let's start there. Following James Franklin's home loss to Ohio State on Saturday, he was booed on his way off the field, and he got into a verbal confrontation with a fan heading into the tunnel. Now, it wasn't quite as bad as Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni jawing with Philly fans a few weeks ago, but it was a bad look. And since Franklin took over the Penn State football program in 2014, he reached double-digit win totals 5 times and probably will do it again this year. In fact, he won 11 games 4 times. That's pretty good. He won a Big Ten title in his 3rd year back in 2016 and was the coach of the year. But he can't beat Ohio State and Michigan, even though they don't play this year. And he can't beat top 5 teams. All this means is Franklin is really, really good. Really good. But not elite. Not yet. And Penn State fans think that their team should be elite. Or they think a coach that makes $10 million a year should be elite. You know, they think they should be what Ohio State is, or Georgia is, or what Alabama used to be until very recently. That's what they expect at Penn State. There's nothing wrong with that. Not at all. But you know, I say this, you don't fire a guy that's going to win you 10 or 11 games every single year, or you don't fire a guy that is consistently ranked in the top 10. You don't fire a guy that's going to lead you to a playoff berth this year with the 12-team expanded playoff format. You just don't. There are 150 programs in this country that would trade places with Penn State right now. So that's how I see that going. They're not going to fire him. People are going to be upset. People like to talk. He's fine. Let's take a closer look at what's going on with the USC Trojans. My opinion is that scenario for Lincoln Riley is not as optimistic. He's got an awesome resume, Lincoln Riley does. He's coached 3 Heisman Trophy winners, including Caleb Williams at USC. He won 4 Big 12 titles at Oklahoma. He's been to the college football playoff 3 times at Oklahoma. Again, USC fans probably don't care about that. In his first year at USC, he was considered a great get by the Trojan program that wanted to be relevant again. And he delivered. 11-win season, Heisman Trophy quarterback. Last year, 8-5. It was disappointing. It was a setback. It wasn't the end of the world. Future was bright. Trojans were heading to the Big Ten, where they would show the new guys who's boss from out west, except they haven't done that. In fact, USC's jump to the Big Ten has been nothing short of a disaster. It seemed to start great with a nationally televised season opening non-conference win over LSU. And hey, anytime a Big Ten team, whether a new Big Ten team or a traditional Big Ten team, beats an SEC team, that's a good thing. So people got excited. Welcome to the Big Ten. But a blown lead at Michigan, a late score by the Gophers at Minnesota, a blown lead and an overtime loss at home to Penn State, a blown lead and a loss at Maryland, and a loss at former Pac-12 foe Washington. It's not looking good. They've seen a once proud Trojans football program lose 5 of their 7 Big Ten conference games so far. And their deep pocket boosters at USC there, they're getting a little restless, reading a lot of stuff. Every day it's out there. A lot of noise. Coming up for the Trojans next is a home game against the Nebraska team that's lost 3 in a row. They've been desperate to pick up a 6th win. They've been stuck on 5 wins, and they want to become bowl eligible for the first time since 2016. Desperate teams can be dangerous. Then it plays crosstown rival UCLA. Bruins are playing a little better right now. They've won 2 in a row. Crosstown rivalries, especially this one, can be dangerous. See what I'm saying here? Then the Trojans close out against rival Notre Dame. And the Irish are going to be trying to lock up a playoff spot. They got a lot to play for. At that point, USC people may say that they want the program to go in another direction, despite the fact that Lincoln Riley may be owed around, $70 million for his buyout? What do you think? Love to hear from you. You Trojan fans are very opinionated on the comment section here on YouTube. Would absolutely love to hear from you on this one. And I know Penn State from earlier. You're going to be hitting me up on the comments there as well. That's great. It's all well and good. It's what I want today. There's one other coach that might be feeling a little bit of the heat, and that's Purdue football coach Ryan Walters. He's in his 2nd season after signing a $20 million contract in 2022. And he was a well-respected defensive coordinator for Brett Bielema at Illinois when he landed the Purdue gig. He took over a good football program that was led by Jeff Brom, who had left on good terms to go coach his alma mater at Louisville. But things have been going in the wrong direction ever since he arrived at West Lafayette. Last year, Walters was 4-8 in his first year. This year, the team 1-7, which includes 2 overtime losses, which he was pretty aggressive in his play calling and going for the win and all that kind of stuff against Illinois and Northwestern, but it backfired both times. Can't blame a guy for trying when things are down. A few weeks ago, he fired his offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell, who, by the way, is still owed $1 million for next season. And the things to consider here for Purdue. Purdue is way behind in name, image, and likeness. Way behind. And it would be very un-Purdue-like for them to fire a coach this early in their tenure. So, although I will point out, being a Big Ten team, they can afford to do whatever they want, buyout or not. As a school, you have to weigh the cost of the buyout, whatever's left on that $20 million contract, versus the cost of not making a move and falling further behind. Just ask crosstown rival Indiana. They had that same conversation a year ago, and some will tell you they waited a year too long to move on from Tom Allen because he was so likable, and he had total buy-in into the program and the university. But also look how quickly things turned around in Bloomington when a school like IU gets the right guy in there, like Curt Cignetti. And that just can't be easy for Purdue to watch for all that success in Bloomington from 2 hours away in West Lafayette. So, and by the way, their likely season-ending rivalry could be on the ugly side for the Boilers, taking on Indiana this year. And that's after games against Ohio State and Penn State coming up. So, yikes, when you look at the Purdue Boilermaker schedule. But having said all that, I think Purdue is going to give Walters at least one more year. They're going to give him some more time to get things going there at Purdue. So the 3 coaches we talked about here today, and this is what I want your comments on the comment section on YouTube. Penn State, I think they stay the course. I think there's a lot of grumbling going on, but ultimately Penn State's going to be a playoff team this year. Penn State will enjoy it. Who knows? Maybe even get a home playoff game. I think the heat will cool off a little bit, and then all the talk will start again next year. Lincoln Riley at USC, I think there's some trouble there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I think there's something going on there with him. And again, Purdue will stay the course with Ryan Walters. That's what I think. Do you think that? You think that as well? Let me know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. All right, a couple of housekeeping items I want to talk about here, and then we're going to get into the Tez Johnson situation. You Iowa fans, hang on for that. But a couple of things. I want to give you a programming note. We are going to go live on YouTube on Saturday like we do every Saturday. It's going to be after the Michigan-Indiana game. That's 3:30 CBS. So about 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, we'll go live on Saturday. Wanted to point that out as well. Hey, also you see on the crawl, if you can watch it on video, talkbig10.com is our website. All of our podcasts go there. You can buy merchandise in time for Christmas from your favorite schools. Get your Indiana hats, Michigan T-shirts, Ohio State pennants, all that right there. I've got them linked up right next to our podcast. Go check it out, talkbig10.com. And what I ask everybody to do, and it's free, is to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button for this podcast. And you can follow Locked On Big Ten for free forever, wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And again, don't forget to hit that website, talkbig10.com as well. All right, Tez Johnson, wide receiver, Oregon, injured. What's the latest? And you Penn State fans, not happy about this annual whiteout game. You were forced to make this game your whiteout game because of TV schedules, and now it's behind a paywall. I'll explain all of that. Plus, we'll have our Tuesday tweets, all that coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Hey, Big Ten fans, let me tell you, it's time to recognize our Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pooled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits leave a massive change when you add it all up. With the Roy app, you can direct your support financially to athletes that you love, ensuring that all your funds go to a specific player at the school you choose. And unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support's going, and you can even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. And the best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, we are going to support Iowa running back Caleb Johnson for his 135-yard, 3-touchdown performance versus Wisconsin. Congratulations to him. You can show players like Caleb your support as well. Maybe chip in $10 or whatever here, and just stay connected. Plus, you don't want to miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter the referral code Locked On, and you're entered. 2 tickets to a game here this month. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. So good luck on getting those tickets. Download Roy now and join the nil game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return on you for more information. Tell you about FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL action. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, is right now. New customers get $5 or who win $5 get $150 in bonus bets. If you win, the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place your bets on the NFL, all in one place. Stats, scores, everything right there. The bets. Visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I like Thursday night football. Bengals and Ravens. Ravens -6. Love it. Bengals on the road, short week. Take the over, too. 52.5. That's all at FanDuel.com. Join them today. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, thank you, everybody, for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share, and follow like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. The biggest injury concern throughout all of the Big Ten is Oregon, and they're all everything wide receiver and punt returner Tez Johnson. He suffered a shoulder injury early in the Michigan game. He returned to the sidelines in street clothes and a sling. Sunday, he posted a picture of himself on the ground on social media with a broken-hearted emoji. However, I do have some good news here. We have learned that the injury will not require surgery and is expected to return to action at some point this year. It's not a season ender, so good news for them. And another good news for the Ducks. Their roster's deep. They got guys like Trayshawn Holden coming off a career game, actually, at Michigan, plus Evan Stewart, Justice Lowe. Plus, the Ducks are approaching the easier portion of their schedule with Maryland, Wisconsin, and Washington. So, Ducks fans, hold your breath. Maybe Tez will be back at some point where you can relax a little bit. But I think the team will be okay with its winning ways moving forward. Oregon Ducks quarterback Dylan Gabriel, his Heisman Trophy odds actually took a bit of a hit after his 2-touchdown game and win at Ann Arbor on Saturday, in the wrong direction here. Despite entering the weekend as the betting favorite by many, Miami's Cam Ward and Colorado's Travis Hunter are on the rise. Ward is currently plus 200 to win the Heisman, as is Hunter. Gabriel is plus 300 after being plus 225 last week. And Ashton Genty from Boise State, the running back, plus 500, over 1,500 yards rushing already and 20 touchdowns. By the way, Indiana's Curtis Rourke getting a little bit of attention, plus 3,000, still big number there. Michigan State, their coach Jonathan Smith says that starting quarterback Aiden Childs should be back in the lineup for the Spartans next game. He was injured Saturday in the home loss to the Indiana Hoosiers. While schools are very tight-lipped about these injuries, Childs was seen with his right hand and right wrist taped up on the sideline of that Indiana game, and he'll have time to heal. Spartans have a bye week this week, and then they play at Illinois November 16th. By the way, Jonathan Smith with an interesting comment I want to share with you. He has played Ohio State and Oregon and now Indiana. So how good is Indiana? As you know, as you watch this on Tuesday, the college football playoff poll will come out for the first time this season. I'm going to be real curious. Indiana in the AP poll, ranked 8th. Are they going to penalize them for not having beaten any ranked teams, even though they're blowing out people? It's going to be a big question. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's podcast. So how good is Indiana? Well, Jonathan Smith, Michigan State head coach, he's played Ohio State, he's played Oregon, he's played Indiana. He says Indiana can play with anybody in the country. IU just beat Michigan State by 37. Ohio State only beat Michigan State by 31. Oregon beat Michigan State by 21. So biggest margin of victory went to the Hoosiers. He said they can play with anybody. They do everything, all three phases of the game. They do it well. They make plays when they're out there. They don't make mistakes. By the way, depending on what poll you look at or numbers you look at, Indiana is a 13.5 or 14-point favorite to beat Michigan at home this upcoming weekend. You know, some fans, there's a lot of talk. They don't like it when marquee games like Ohio State and Penn State this weekend are at noon on Fox instead of being on a prime time. But that's the format because Fox paid a lot of money. All right. They want noon to be their marquee deal. And so Penn State and Ohio State had to be at noon. Penn State actually wanted that Ohio State game to be the famous whiteout game that they do at nighttime, the annual game that they do. But it had to be a day game because Fox wanted it. And so now Penn State fans, the whiteout game will now be this weekend's game against Washington. Well, that game's going to be streamed behind a paywall on Peacock. And after the loss to Ohio State, I guess Penn State lost a little appeal for the national TV audience, a little, even though they're still a playoff team. I think the bigger problem here is they're taking on Washington, with a team that's middle of the road and doesn't win much on the road. And so they're not going to carry it. NBC's not carrying it. They're going to carry the Florida State Notre Dame game instead Saturday night. So you either stream Peacock or you don't get the Penn State game this weekend. 1-8, Florida State versus Notre Dame. That's what they'd rather have. I know I'll hear some comments on that too. By the way, all these things are to be determined up until the weekend. We got the TV schedule now. Friday night, back to Friday Night Lights. We got Iowa at UCLA at the Rose Bowl. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific on Fox. That's Friday night game. Saturday, the big noon game on Fox is going to be Purdue at Ohio State. NBC is going to carry a Big Ten game, but it won't be at prime time. It'll be at noon. They're going to take Minnesota, winners of 4 in a row, at Rutgers. Michigan at Indiana. That's the 3:30 game on CBS. Again, Locked On Big Ten will go live after that game here on YouTube. Again, we'll be on around 7 o'clock Eastern-ish. Maryland is at Oregon. That's a Big Ten network game at 7 o'clock Eastern. And Washington, as we mentioned, at Penn State. By the way, that's an 8 o'clock kickoff Eastern time on Peacock. While we are wall-to-wall with football these days, 14 Big Ten men's basketball teams opened their season on Monday night. They were all right after we posted this podcast. But we'll be all over the hoops soon enough. I'm a big fan myself. So we're gonna dive into the hoops, even though we do a lot of football here. We love that too. The Huskies are in action tonight against UC Davis, and tomorrow Rutgers, Indiana, and Minnesota tip off their first games of the year. All right, coming up, we got a look at Tuesday tweets. Follow us on Twitter at Talk Big Ten. We'll share those with you. That is coming up in just a minute here on Locked On Big Ten. We're talking about Z-Biotics. This is a product everybody's talking about. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It is invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. And this byproduct, not dehydration, is what makes you feel pretty rough the next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. And you just remember to make Z-Biotics the first drink of your night. Drink responsibly, and then feel your best the next day. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more about it and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. All right, let's do this. It's time for Tuesday tweets. I'm going to put these on full screen if you're audio only. I will describe them as best as I can. And don't forget to hit us up at Twitter at Talk Big Ten. So let's take a look. First one on the board here is from at College FBon X. It is a list of 8 teams that are top 20 in both scoring offense and scoring defense. And 2 of the 8 are Big Ten teams. Got ourselves Ohio State and Indiana. How about that? Pretty well-rounded teams. Meanwhile, Big Ten football releasing a tweet of Caleb Johnson in action with graphics, 24 carries, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns that he did against Wisconsin this weekend. Says, you're special when your performance every week calls for a stat graphic. That is right. Well-deserved. Speaking of that Iowa game against Wisconsin, it was on national TV on NBC. This is from at R. Krager 8, and this was an overhead blimp shot by NBC that night of Kinnick Stadium on the right, the night scene there in Iowa, shot of the baseball field all lit up. Looked fantastic. I remember seeing it live going, wow, that is cool. And then I found it here on Twitter, so I reposted it for you to check it out. Here is at Big Ten football. Dylan Gabriel showing some love to Oregon football fans who made the trip all the way to Ann Arbor. Hashtag Big Ten football. That's right. Going around the bricked wall, the stadium, thanking everybody for coming out, watching them win. Here is a picture from the giant duck mascot superimposed behind the big house. Knock, knock. Who's there? The Ducks came. They won. Great job. That's from at Duck Diddler. Thank you for that. Meanwhile, another one from at Go Ducks, seizing opportunity, hashtag Go Ducks. Oh, mighty mentality. Here's a picture of a few of them there at the big house. I told you, I love the silver chrome helmets, the silver and white uniforms that they wore. Those look good. Here is from at College Football Alerts, current college football Heisman odds. I mentioned them earlier today. Cam Ward +2. Here it is, just the graphic of what we talked about last segment with Travis Hunter and Dylan Gabriel. Ashton Genty. I did leave out Jackson Dart earlier, +2,000. Curtis Rourke at +3,000 to win the Heisman. And here's from at College Football on Fox. 45 teams are now officially going bowling this season. Bowl eligible. It has all their logos on them. There are 7 Big Ten teams in here. Let's see here. The first row, second row, we got Oregon. Minnesota's in there. Indiana. Also Penn State and Iowa, Illinois, and Ohio State. Got to get Nebraska in there. Need another one. Come on, Huskers. Meanwhile, here is at PFF College Football. Picture of Kurt Cignetti on the sideline. Indiana 9-0 for the first time in program history. If they beat Michigan and they're 2 touchdown favorites, they will be 10-0 going into the Ohio State game. Here's from Jeff Rabjohns, who does cover the Hoosiers. Indiana versus Michigan on November 9th at Memorial Stadium. A picture of Memorial Stadium all sold out. He's just telling you 3:30 CBS. Another great shot. Memorial Stadium. Beautiful one, full. Here's another one of Kurt Cignetti. This is the video. They like to play this a lot during broadcasts. This is the day he was hired. Showed up at a basketball game. This is reposted at IU Barstool. Remember, He came out there and he said, in so many words, Purdue stinks and so does Michigan and Ohio State, and we don't take a backseat to anybody. Well, those are the next three opponents for Indiana football: Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. You talk, you gotta walk, you gotta do it, gotta win them. At Big Ten football, reminder: the season's first college football rankings come out on Tuesday night tonight. Hashtag Big Ten football. Looking for Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana. Those are all in the top 8 in the AP poll. How will they fare in the college football playoff poll? And again, here's another one from College Football Fox, the AP poll. Here's all of them graphically, with Oregon sitting there at number 1. Looks good. We mentioned those first 4 in the 8, and that's it, because Illinois got bounced out of the top 25. And that's it. Those are a list of our tweets here for this week. Let me know what you think. If you hit me up on Twitter at TalkBig10 at any time, if I like your posts, I'll put them on here if I see them. In addition to that, you can reach out via our website, talkbig10.com. Our podcast will go there. Plus, you can buy merchandise from your favorite team there. And also hit us up with a comment on YouTube as well. And be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. That way you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the college football poll that's out for the playoffs. See where Indiana is, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. It's going to be interesting. And then they change each week. They tweak them. Tomorrow's the first one. Plus, we'll have our own power rankings coming up. All that coming up. Thanks for joining us here today. I always appreciate our visit, and I can't wait till we talk again tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman.